And as you can imagine, if you write, come up with this idea to write something to write a novel about something that affects the entire planet, there's a lot of research that you have to do. So I did a certain amount of scientific research as I wrote, and that's because I really wanted it to feel real. I wanted the consequences on the landscape and on the planet and the animals and the crops and the people to feel as convincing and real as the characters. So I did research as I went, but I was mostly kind of self-taught because I didn't want to bother a scientist too early in the process because partly from working in book publishing, I knew just how incredibly hard it is to get a novel published. Even I've just seen a lot of books that had merit, that had great writing, and just for one reason or another, or maybe for no good reason, don't get picked up by a publisher. So because of that, I was very aware that my book might never leave my laptop. So I didn't want to bother a real scientist doing real scientific work too early with something that I was just making up. But it was fun to do the research myself, and I tried to let the story guide the research. So as the days, because what happens is that the 24-hour day grows by an hour the first night, and then more and more hours as the rotation of the Earth continues to slow down. And so as I arrived at new chapters, let's say when the days were 30 hours, 31 hours, I would questions would occur to me like, how much light in a row do lawns need or do crops need? And I would then try to do the research to figure that out. But then at the end, when I had a full draft, and after I had sold the novel, I finally worked up the nerve to show it to a real astrophysicist, because the physics was the part that was the hardest to figure out. So that was a very sort of nerve-wracking experience, but great. He turned out to be a wonderful reader because he was a real lover of fiction in addition to having an expertise in astrophysics. So I'd say in general I was just really relieved by his response, by how much of it he felt was based in real science, and then he helped me fix a few things to make them more realistic, so that was crucial, and he was great. And then I guess the one thing that I didn't have to do any research on was the setting. The Southern California setting was very important to me from the beginning, and it was just really a pleasure to write in detail about what it's like to live here, or in actually Southern California, but I think a lot of it applies to both halves of the state. But I loved writing about a child's experience of the beaches and soccer fields and what the air smells like, and how in San Diego there's no winter weather in the summer and everything. I mean, no winter weather in the winter. And all of those details was just really fun and pleasurable to write about. And the reason that I said it there initially is just because that's where I was when I was 11, and the story is so much about a young girl, and it was easy for me to draw on those memories. But as I wrote the book, I started to realize that I think there really was a more profound reason that I wanted to set the book in California. And I think maybe if I hadn't grown up in California, I don't know if I would have written this book, because I think there's something, at least for me, and I think it's common, about growing up in a place like this where from an early age you really are aware of the power